Hello, my name's Raj Verma. I'm the Chief Culture, Inclusion and Experience Officer here at Sanofi. And I'm joined today by Caroline Casey, a fellow board member for our Inclusion Board. And what I wanted to share with you today was a little bit about our journey. Our journey started almost 4 years ago when we created our very first global strategy for diversity, equity and inclusion. And it was called Diversity Edge. And it was all about building the grassroots movement. It was about putting in the mechanics, the policies, the processes, the practices. And it was hard work, but it was worth it because it allows us to do what we want to do now, which is to go to help people understand the next generation of inclusion so they feel they can belong beyond boundaries. So Caroline, you've been with us right from the start. You're on our board. Tell us about your experiences of being with Sanofi and the journey that we've been on.
I've loved this journey. It has been an incredible evolution of an idea that really began based in culture. And for me, I think you talked about building at the beginning, and it was really hard and it was difficult. And it is hard and difficult because inclusion is for all, everyone, or not at all. And there are so many different ways we turn up as human beings. And there's so many different countries to which Sanofi operate in, and there's so many different roles. So to get a culture where people universally belong and can perform at their very best is really difficult. The thing that if I had to reflect back on and where we are today and how Sanofi has put those bricks, those foundation bricks, and we've had to change a few of them around, yes, right? But I think owning and being accountable for the things that we might not have done as well as we'd have liked or as quickly as we'd have liked, I do think we have really set a world-class cultural position to go really deep. And to be fair to the leadership of this organization, the culture of inclusion and equity, diversity and belonging has been a business strategic driver. It wasn't sort of done just because it was the thing to do when Paul Hudson and Natalie and you all came on. This was seen as a way to drive business and look at the performance of the company. So there is definitely the results. For me, I will remember, and I do, we were very human with each other. We really care about it, but we use data to back it all the time and to criticize ourselves. And the fact that there was the leadership of Sanofi always there for the longest board meetings of all mankind. Honestly, these board meetings are so long. And that to me, it was huge.
It was making sure everybody had opportunity to say what they felt had to be said. And I can remember actually when I was interviewing you, Caroline, for this, and I'll never forget it because that was a learning moment and a teaching moment, I guess. I was sharing an example where we were working on the workplace, and it was actually here at La Maison, which is our headquarters. And I'd been working with a lady called Marie, who was our project manager. And up until 3 to 4 months in, I did not know she was in a wheelchair.
Oh, yes, that's
because
right.
everything was through Zoom, and it was mid-COVID.
That happened a lot, by the way.
It did.
Yeah.
What was really sort of emotional for me a little bit is when she said, and I'll never be able to use the terrace. And I said, what do you mean? We're going to create this beautiful terrace overlooking the Eiffel Tower. She said, well, I'm in a wheelchair. And I did not realize. And I said, well, what do you mean you won't be able to? Oh, because the lift won't go there. You know, and one of the things that we are very intentional about in Sanofi is a workplace experience built by design.
Yeah.
So that accessibility is for all, not just for some. And I think that's really important. And the second thing I learned, and this is when we were thinking about some of the impact measures that we wanted for Diversity Edge, we had said, and I was naively thinking, we want 100% accessibility for people with disabilities. And I think, Caroline, you said, well, why are you saying with people with disabilities? Why not say for all?
Well, absolutely. Like, I'm a woman. I'm over 50. I have a disability. I mean, there are 3 intersectional parts. And actually, that is something that I really love, that we have really got to understand, is not this one positional silo piece, but how we all turn up. And if I was thinking back about the Marie story, and I'm thinking about where we are as an organization now, 2 things occur to me that I feel that we have really learned. One is that we're moving beyond the idea of this accessibility just for a particular group, but a universally co-created, co-designed culture. Now, we're not there yet, but that is our intention. This is not something small in a kind of a background just for a particular group. The second thing that I feel that you took that Marie's story is, you had a blind spot. Sorry, excuse the pun, considering I'm registered blind, but you had a blind spot that actually the intelligence to create that accessible building was in with Marie. She had the lived experience. So the thing that I see Sanofi are really doing is reaching into your people through ERG groups and whatever experiences, so that ladders up into co-creating the experience that employees would have.
We worked with an architect who was renowned for creating accessible workplace, and they actually did the Olympics in 2012 in the UK. And I didn't realize the complexity and the intricacies of color, sound, of touch,
oh my
carpet,
God, smell. For somebody who doesn't see, yes, absolutely.
So we built that in, and it was something that we would never have otherwise have thought about had we not had the experience from the people who were telling us and sharing, because everything we do is about creating a high-performing, inclusive, accessible culture in Sanofi.
Which has to have two characteristics to make it work. One is you have to be radically curious, and I mean curious rather than blaming.
Yeah.
It means, okay, two is you have to be accountable for when you get it wrong. And that's the piece for me. Like when you come into Maison Sanofi, right? I can't see that, the screen, but the team are fully trained to deal with me not being able to see it.
Yeah.
No problem. How can I help you? That's the point. So for me as a visually impaired person, my needs are entirely different to yours. And you're not going to get it right for everybody. But what we need to do is have the training for the people around who go, well, so how can I help? What can I do? I don't know how to do this. So this is more about a psychology. My husband always says the greatest barrier to inclusion and accessibility is 6 inches between our ears. It's not the lack of a ramp.
Yeah. And part of what we've tried to do is to normalize that it's okay to ask for help, for support. It's okay to look at things in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really pleased to be able to showcase and share one of the first things that we've done around the accessibility lounge concept that we've been researching, and we're working hand in hand with our workplace team. And again, this is new for them, new for us, but we wanted it to be built by design by the people who are going to be using it and by the people who are going to be supporting it, and how it can actually help. So we looked at best practice as much as we could to find the Sanofi standard.
Can we just take away all the things that are happening and doing? Because what it is, the importance to me about what you're doing in Sanofi, you're trying to normalize how I can ask for and get and work with tools and environments and situations that are going to help me be productive and effective and efficient. Because let's be honest, I just want to come in here and do my very best. And so what you're starting to do by these, because people will just kind of roll their eyes and go, okay, well, this is an inclusion lab or this is like a trolley. No, the whole point of these accessibility pop-ups is to trigger conversations for people to ask what they need. Yeah. Our job is not to design out your brilliance, but to design in your brilliance into this business. These are ways in which we can get people to be curious about what their colleagues might need, or maybe what they might need. So as we look at belonging beyond boundaries, we are looking to normalize and to make inclusion and equity and diversity and a sense of being able to belong here as normal and as important as health and safety. Like, we shouldn't be having these conversations in 2025, but what you're doing now is moving from inclusion to belonging is how can I feel I can do my very best and also not do my very best and not fail in a way that I can't improve, right? So it's about continuous learning and improvement.
And having practical tools available that you can order, having the chance to experiment with things in the workplace may help you at home as well, right? So sometimes you just don't know what you don't know.
But okay, the tools, I'm going to keep going back to the 6 inches between the ears. We can have all the tools that we want, but at the same time that we're creating the tools, you're creating the policies within the business. You're creating the culture that people can ask. And for managers who are being asked to do this, like this is about learning and informing, right? This is really hard. If you don't know what somebody needs, how do we create the culture that's okay to ask, or maybe say, I actually don't know? And I think that's, for me, the amplifier of this. It's not just the tools, it's the learning and the environment.
And they have to go hand in hand. And one of the things I love about what we've designed here, and again, we've co-created it, right? We've asked for feedback. We've tested it before we've put it as a prototype to see how it lands. So there are a whole number of things that you're going to be able to see on the accessibility pop-up and feel. And what's really interesting is, I know we had a joke earlier about the noise.
Yes,
you may not be able to hear it, but Caroline can. I don't know, you had a...
Well, I'm just saying, because I'm very somatically, which is noise sensitive, as many people are who are neurodivergent, right? So, for example, that noise is like, it's really hard. It's really, really hard to focus and concentrate. So this is a perfect accessibility situation. Just say this is happening. Can I go to my manager and go, is it okay I work from home for the 3 days that this is going on? Because I actually can't. Like, I'm allergic to bathroom fans. You know, it's one of those kind of weird things. So that is an example of, or do we stop filming because there's noise? No. How do we work around it?
And I think there's something that we talked about, curiosity.
Yeah.
And it's easy for a manager to say, well, no, that's not going to happen. You need to stay at your desk, right?
Yeah.
But having managers who actually step back and say, well, okay, I may not understand.
Yeah.
Let me empathize and let me find a solution with you. What's going to work for you? And yes, you can do X, Y, Z days from home. Or is there something else we can do to help?
And we have a deadline. So we can't say we have to stop filming, waiting for Paris to stop drilling.
Yeah.
So there needs to be realism. And I always feel that when we're talking about universal design and when you're talking about inclusion, I always talk about head and heart. Is just, do you bring our hearts and our emotions, but we also need the science and the data, and we need to be realistic. So we're not going to get it all right. Yeah. We can't stop the drilling, but we can speak louder.
We can.
You know, or make a joke out of it. Or I think we always take ourselves so seriously. The issues that we're dealing with are really serious, but we need to approach, I think, accessibility and universal design with that radical curiosity, that humbleness, that, you know, the joy of trying to get it right.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And one of the things that we're really keen to make available to everyone here at Sanofi is access to some of these tools. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you know, in line with our culture, in line with the values that we have, our ways of working are continually evolving. And I think that's important, you know, in the AI age that we're in, and the fourth revolution, I think we call it, you know, how can we help people move along with it and not be afraid of it? And
so don't make them the enemy.
100%.
That's the thing. Look, I don't know about you, but I remember being a kid, I will always respond when I was learning ballet, believe it or not. I will respond to somebody who encourages me, not to somebody who shouts at me. Yeah. This journey, you're not going to get it right for everyone. And I keep encouraging people to see, let's not judge somebody before we ask where it's coming from, right? So if you make an enemy out of somebody, nobody's going to learn.
Yeah. One of the things that we've tried to really work on in Sanofi as part of the transformation is to give people that level of security and safety that they feel they need in an organization which is risk-taking by definition.
Well, it is.
Right. So that, you know, we want people to fail fast, we want them to learn, we want to give them the tools and to speak up. So having tools like this available just helps all of us be the best versions for a most productive way of getting stuff done.
And that piece about storytelling, I mean, let's be honest, this is something that's just going to trigger stories or questions. And stories do change things. And I do think Sanofi, that's one thing I've really noticed over the 4 years, is how much better we've got at telling our stories at all levels. And I think that's really around the ERG groups as well. Yeah. But if there's one thing I think that this isn't, that people in Sanofi know that this is here forever. When Yulia came on as the person who was responsible for this issue, who sits at our board, who deals with it, and she's, first of all, she's also amazing as a person and that strategy. And I'm watching how she has, her own portfolio has grown, but most importantly, she's listened to. And that's the accountability that we need. And if every organization would get a Yulia or a chief accessibility officer, then we probably wouldn't be having these conversations.
And I think you have to be intentional, and you have to be able to put the energy and resources behind doing something that you believe in.
Yeah.
And, our approach to inclusion has been one around belief, doing the right thing, but being intentional and backing it up with resource. Because it's great to be intentional, but if you don't have the resource to do it, then it doesn't.
I always think accountable when we don't get it right.
100%. And we take that.
That's the one thing I'm really proud of. I think that we have been. I love this about Sanofi. It's like, we didn't get that right.
So, look, in closing, what I'd like to really amplify is that we are creating accessibility lounges. We are rolling out a number of accessibility pop-ups so everybody feels that they have somewhere to go and to experiment and test and ask some of the questions that maybe they haven't been able to in the past. There's a QR code that you will see on screen that will take you to our digital catalog where you can find all the tools that we have. And please go ahead and ask some of those difficult questions and speak to your managers, speak to us. We're here to help us all.